What if the light you trusted to save lives was secretly summoning the dead? One flicker, and the sea whispers your name. Will you answer, or let it drag you under?
Whispers from the veil. The lighthouse clawed at the sky like a desperate prayer, its whitewashed towers streaked with the grime of 1,000 gales. Perched on the ragged spine of Cape Harrow, where the Atlantic flung itself against Cornwall's unyielding granite, it had stood for 2 centuries, a beacon for the lost, a tomb for the foolhardy. Elias Crow arrived on a ferry that bucked like a spooked horse, the spray stinging his face as if the sea itself rejected him. He was 47, a former architect whose hands, once deft with blueprints, now trembled from the whiskey that chased away blueprints of a different kind. Divorce papers, bankruptcy notices, the ghost of a daughter who preferred her mother's silence to his apologies. The solicitor's letter had been a lifeline, or so he'd thought. To Elias Crow, sole heir, Harrow Light and ancillary structures, maintain the flame. Ancillary structures, Elias snorted as the path revealed them. A crumbling boathouse choked with kelp, a widow's walk overgrown with thrift and gorse, and the tower itself, its iron door rusted to a snarl. No salary, no pension, just the echo of waves and the weight of solitude. He shouldered his rucksack, tools, tinned rations, a dog-eared copy of Moby Dick for irony, and forced the door. It yielded with a groan, exhaling damp air laced with mildew and something metallic, like blood under rust. Inside, the spiral stair twisted upward, each tread a protest against his boots. Elias paused at the service room, a nook barely larger than a closet, where a paraffin stove hunkered beside shelves of foghorn canisters. He lit it with a match that flared blue, casting shadows that danced like inquisitive spirits. Upward still to the lantern room, a dome of curved glass, the heart of the beast. The lamp, a massive Fresnel affair, its brass fittings pitted, sat dormant, its wicks dry as accusations. Elias traced the prisms, cool and faceted, remembering his father's tales of lighthouses as fingers of God pointing the way home. Home, what a joke. He descended for air, the sea a cauldron below, frothing white against black rocks. That's when he saw her, a figure on the shingle beach, cloaked in oilskin, dragging a skiff ashore. She moved with the economy of someone who'd bartered with the tide her whole life. Elias picked his way down the cliff path, loose scree skittering like fleeing mice. "Lost?" he called, voice rough from disuse. She straightened, water dripping from her hood like tears. Mid-30s, perhaps, with freckles scattered like constellations across a nose sharpened by wind. Her eyes were storm gray, assessing him in a blink. "Not if you're the new keeper. I'm Leora Wen, from the village, Cove's End. Brought supplies, bread, smoked mackerel, a wedge of Stilton that'd curdle a siren's milk." Elias took the basket, the warmth of fresh bake seeping through the cloth. "Elias, just arrived. Didn't expect a welcome wagon." Leora's laugh was a ripple, not a wave. "We look after our own, even the transients. The light's been dark 3 weeks since old Harlan heeled over mid-climb. Ships veered close, clipped the outer buoy. Folks say the Cape hungers without its eye." She nodded at the tower. "You light her tonight?" "Aye," I lied, masking the knot in my gut. "Mechanics weren't my forte. Structures, yes, but this breathing relic." She lingered, wiping sand from her hands. "Mind the whispers after dark. Harlan swore the glass sang, tunes from drowned crews. Probably the wind, but—" Her gaze flicked seaward, where a pod of dolphins arced like thrown knives. "Cape's got stories that bite." He watched her row back, the skiff slicing foam, until she was a speck swallowed by haze. He climbed, hauling the basket, and set to work. The manual, tucked in a drawer like a forgotten testament, detailed the ritual. Prime the wicks, adjust the clockwork rotator, ignite at dusk. His hands steadied as he worked, the familiar rhythm of assembly soothing the tremor. Dusk bled purple across the waves, and with a rasp of flint, the flame caught, golden, voracious. The beam lanced out, a scythe reaping the night, sweeping the horizon in languid arcs. Sleep evaded him that first night, the rotation's hum a lullaby laced with menace. He dreamed of blueprints unfurling into sails, his ex-wife's voice calling from a porthole, "Build me a bridge back." He awoke sweat slick, the room pitched in shadow, save for the beam's periodic kiss. Thirst drove him to the service nook, where he fumbled for the kettle. As water boiled, a sound intruded, not the sea's roar, but a murmur, layered and liquid, threading through the stone. Elias froze, ear cocked. It swelled, voices overlapping in a canticle. "Turn the wheel, deeper, the veil thins." He yanked open the door to the stairwell, torch beams stabbing down. Nothing. Wind, he told himself, whistling through cracks. But the voices lingered, fading to a sigh as he shuttered the lantern room's vents against a rising gale. Morning brought clarity, and a visitor, a boy, no older than 12, perched on an upturned crate by the boathouse, whittling a stick into a fanciful fish. "Da says you're the ghost now," the lad announced without preamble, his knife flashing like a minnow. "Name's Jem. Collect gull eggs for Ma's omelets. You got any?" I chuckled, descending the path with a tin mug of tea. "Ghosts don't drink builder's brew. Eggs? Haven't scouted yet. Show me the nests." Jem's eyes lit, and they scrambled the cliffs together, the boy nimble like a feral goat. At a crag veiled by thrift, he pointed to ledges where gulls squawked guardianship. I reached gingerly, snagging 2 speckled orbs. "Harlan taught me," Jem said, pocketing one. "Said the light keeps worse than gulls away, krakens and such." "Krakens?" I prompted, handing over the second egg. He leaned in, voice dropping to conspiracy. "Not the big ones, little ones in the fog. They tangle ropes, steal lanterns. Da saw one once, tentacles like eels, eyes like lanterns themselves. Pulled his catch under, but the lamp—" He mined a slash, sliced 'em clean. Back at the tower, he boiled the eggs, sharing with Jem amid tales of village lore, the smuggler's moon, when contraband brandy flowed like the tide, the witch of the whirlpool who lured sailors with songs from the deep. The boy left with a full belly and a promise to return, his laughter echoing up the path. That afternoon, Elias inventoried the ancillary structures. The boathouse yielded a skiff in fair repair, oars banded with copper. The Widow's Walk, a railed platform jutting like a broken finger, offered a vista of smugglers' coves, hidden inlets where waves gnashed secrets. But it was the undercroft, a cellar, accessed by a trapdoor beneath the service room, that hooked him. He pried it open with a crowbar, revealing stairs descending into chill blackness. Torch in hand, he ventured down, walls lined with crates stamped Harrow Expeditions, 1892, and a massive orrery, brass spheres whirring on gears, mapping stars unseen from the Cape. At its center, a pedestal bore a crystal the size of a fist, multifaceted like the Fresnel, but veined with mercury. He touched it, and the orrery stirred, gears clicking as constellations aligned. The whispers returned, sharper now. "Seeker, align the 7th, the veil parts." He recoiled, the crystal humming under his palm, warm like fevered skin. Dusk demanded his attention. He ascended, tending the lamp as gales battered the glass. The beam pulsed stronger that night, or so it seemed, carving furrows in the fog, rolling inland like a living shroud. Elias watched from the lantern room, mesmerized, until a shape coalesced in the mist. A schooner, sails tattered, hull barnacle-crusted, bearing down on the rocks. "God, no!" he muttered, grabbing the signal shutter. He flashed Morse. SOS? No. The protocol was steady beam for safe passage, occult for warning. He twisted the shutters, eclipsing the light in frantic bursts. The ship veered at the last, scraping reef with a screech like nails on slate, then limped seaward, swallowed by night. Adrenaline crashed him into sleep, but dawn dragged him to the beach. Wreckage littered the shingle, splintered planking, a corked bottle bobbing in rock pools. He uncorked it, spilling seawater and a scrap of velvum. To the keeper. The seventh alignment opens the door. Beware the weaver. Ink faded, as if penned a century past. Leora found him there, her skiff grounded nearby. "Rough night?" she asked, eyeing the debris. Elias handed her the note. "Yours?" She scanned it, brow furrowing.
Harlan's hand? No? Older? The weavers, old tales. Spinners in the deep, weaving fates from kelp and bone. They envy the light, steal it to mend their nets. She pocketed the vellum. Burn it, or don't. Your haunt now.
They shared a cold lunch on the rocks, mackerel flaked with salt, bread torn by hand. Leora spoke of her life, widowed young to a squall, raising jam alone, mending nets for the fleet. "The sea's a jealous lover," she said, tossing a pebble into the surf. "Gives bounty, demands tribute." "And the lighthouse?" Elias probed, the crystal's hum echoing in his mind. "Anchor. Without it, we're adrift." Her gaze held his, a spark amid the gray. "You lighten it steady?" He nodded, throat tight. "Steady as I can." She departed with the wreckage, promising to alert the harbormaster. Elias returned to the undercroft, the orrery's spheres mocking him. The seventh. What? He tinkered, adjusting dials until a southern constellation locked. Lyra, the harp. The crystal flared, projecting a holographic web across the walls, threads of light intersecting in fractal patterns, pulsing with the lamp's rhythm above. The whispers crescendoed. Weaver approaches, bind or be bound. Elias slammed the pedestal's cover, heart jackhammering. Enough. He needed tools, knowledge. The village, Cove's End, lay a mile inland, a huddle of thatched roofs and pubs reeking of ale and pipeweed. He trudged the coastal track, arriving as market buzzed, stalls hawking whelks and woolens, fiddles scraping sea shanties. At the Anchor's Arms, he cornered the barman, a barrel-chested relic named Torv. "New keeper," Elias introduced, sliding coins for a pint. "Tell me of the weavers." Torv's foam mustache twitched. "Legends for Scar and young'uns, or not. Back in '92, the expedition, rich folk from London digging for Roman gold, found the undercroft, fiddled with that star machine, lights in the fog, ships vanishing. Then the weaving started, ropes knotting themselves, sails stitching shut. Last one out was Captain Voss, raving of threads pulling him under. Drowned himself on the Cape." Elias sipped bitter ale. "The crystal?" "Heart of it, aligns the stars to thin the veil, twixt our world and the grey. Weavers slip through, spin your life to snarls." Torv leaned close, breath like brine. Harlan left it be. Smart man. Back at the tower, Elias wrestled the orrery's gears, misaligning Lyra to silence the hum. But nightfall brought escalation. The beams swept clean at first, then stuttered, prisms fogging from within, as if breathed upon. Elias climbed to wipe them, cloth coming away slick with dew? No, finer. Filaments, gossamer as spider silk, veined with iridescence. He burned them in the stove, acrid smoke curling up the flue. Sleep claimed him fitfully, until a cry pierced the dark, not wind, but human, raw and rent. He bolted upright, torch in fist, descending to the door. Outside the gale howled, but huddled on the step was Jem, soaked and shivering, a gash across his palm oozing red. "Threads!" the boy gasped, clutching a bundle of net. "Singin'! Pullin'!" He held him inside, stoking the stove, wrapping the wound with his handkerchief. "Slow. What threads?" Jem's eyes were saucers, like Leora's stories, silver lines in the water snaring the pots. "I cut one, sang back, sharp as knives, ran here." Elias examined the net, loops tightened impossibly, fibers gleaming unnatural. He snipped a sample, pocketing it. Stay till dawn, safer. They talked through the night, Jem's fever ebbing into yawns. "You're brave, keeper," he murmured, curling on the pallet. "Like the old ones." Elias envied the boy's drift to sleep. Dawn grayed the windows, and Leora arrived, face thunderous. "Jem, what folly!" She fussed over him, then turned on Elias. "You let him roam cliffs at night?" "He came to me," Elias defended, showing the net. "This caught him." Her fingers traced the strands, paling. "Weaver's work. Ma warned, never cut the silver. Calls them." She bundled Jem toward the door. "Light the beam true tonight. Burn sage on the walk if you must, and stay inside after." But curiosity was a hook in Elias's gut. Midday, with the boy safe home, he rowed the skiff to the cove Jem described, a crescent bight in the cliffs, waves nighing slate shelves. He anchored amid kelp bops bobbing empty, then snorkeled down, mask fogging in chill currents. Kelp forest swayed below, fronds parting to reveal threads. Silver lattices draping the seabed, pulsing faint, ensnaring crabs in quivering webs. One brushed his fin, humming a note that vibrated his bones. Joined the weave. He surfaced gasping, rowing frantic as the water churned. Back at the tower, he diagrammed the pattern on scrap paper, geometric, recursive, echoing the orrery's projection. The crystal called. He descended, realigning Lyra despite dread. The hologram bloomed, threads matching sea to star. Evening brought Ronan, a stranger, gaunt and spectacled, alighting from a dinghy with a satchel of gauges. "Professor Ronan Quill, folklore archivist, Oxford," he announced, doffing a trilby sodden as regret. "Heard of your inheritance. Mind a chat on the 92 expedition? Thesis fodder." Elias, wary, brewed tea in the service room. "Fodder like weavers?" Ronan's eyes gleamed. "Precisely. Not myth, metaphor for acoustic anomalies. The Cape funnels infrasound, creates auditory hallucinations. Threads? Mass hysteria from fishermen's yarns." He unpacked a recorder, playing a tape, low moans layered like the whispers. "Harlan sent me samples. Matches your lamp's hum, amplified." Elias played the net sample's hum on a tuning fork, resonant. "And the crystal?" "Piezoelectric quartz, likely. Vibrates with rotation and projects infrasound. Align it wrong, and the sea sings back, echoes from submarine canyons." Elias's skepticism cracked as Elias revealed the hologram. "Fascinating. May I?" They adjusted together, the web expanding to map not stars, but currents, eddies swirling like fate's fingers. "It's a model," Ronan breathed. "Predicts rips, wrecks. The expedition built it to chart smuggling routes, but stumbled on resonance." Dusk fell. Elias lit the lamp, Ronan departing with recordings and a vow. "I'll decode the weave. Science over spooks." Alone, Elias patrolled the widow's walk, sage smoldering in a tin. The beam carved fog, but tonight it birthed shapes. Silhouettes in the mist, humanoid yet elongated, limbs trailing filaments. One approached the shingle, tendrils questing. Elias shouted, flashing a torch. It recoiled, dissolving to vapor. Midnight tolled on the clockwork. The whispers invaded the tower. "Keeper! The seventh binds all! Release us!" He barricaded the undercroft, but dawn revealed sabotage. Prisms webbed anew, beam dimmed to a guttering pulse. Leora rode in at first light, face etched with lines. Gems fevered, dreams of silver, village talks evacuation. She gripped his arm. Show me the heart. In the undercroft, the orrery whirred unbidden, crystal aglow. Leora's breath hitched. Ma's locket, same shine. She unclasped a chain, revealing a shard matching the facets. From Voss's wreck, said it held his soul. They slotted it into a notch unseen. The hologram shattered to rainbows, threads retracting like startled veins. The whispers hushed. The key, Elias realized, to seal or summon. But Ronan returned unannounced, dinghy laden with equipment, hydrophones, spectrometers. Data confirms the crystal emits terahertz waves, thinning atmospheric boundaries. Fog becomes a medium for projections. His excitement soured at the locket. Artifact integration? Unscientific. Leora's chin lifted. Science didn't save my Tom. This did, or would have. Tension crackled. Elias mediated. Test it. Controlled.
They rigged the setup, hydrophones in the cove, recorders in the lantern. As the beam ignited, waves synced, infrasound booming, threads glowing subsurface. Ronan's gauges spiked. Leora's eyes widened at shapes in the feed. Not illusions, but bioluminescent squid, schools weaving in synchronized pulses, mimicking the web. Not weavers, Ronan stammered. Symbiosis. The lamp's frequency calls a counterswarm, defensive, herding ships from reefs. Jem arrived, fever broken, trailing Leora. I saw them, fish with lights, chasing the bad ones away. But triumph fractured, a squall brewed offshore, unnatural, clouds coiling like yarn. The beam flickered, threads surged, snaring the hydrophone lines. Ronan's boat yanked free, smashing on rocks. He dove after it, surfacing battered, cursing. Overload! Shut it down! Elias raced the stairs, Leora and Jem behind. In the lantern, prisms wept silk. He smashed one with a wrench, shards flying like accusations. The beam died, plunging the cape to Stygian dark. The squall broke then, not rain, but a vessel. The schooner from nights past, hull groaning, crew, gaunt figures in oilskins, scaling the cliffs with grapples. The door! Their leader bellowed, a woman with eyes like chipped flint. Voss's heirs, open it! Elias barred the door, but they breached the boathouse, torches flaring. Descendants, Leora hissed. Smuggler's blood, seeking the veil for shortcuts, ghost routes through fog. The leader, Captain Aloan, kicked in the service door, her band fanning out. The Crystal Keeper, align the seventh, or we weave you into the nets eternal. Ronan, nursing a gash, brandished a hydrophone like a club. It's a resonator, not a portal. Frequencies bend light, not worlds. Aloan laughed, cold as undertow. Worlds bleed where waves meet stars. Voss learned, slipped his cargo through the gray, riches unbound by taxmen. But the weavers took him for the lie. She lunged for the undercroft stairs. Chaos erupted. Jem hurled a foghorn canister, clanging off a thug's skull. Leora swung an oar, cracking ribs. Elias grappled Aloan, her knife grazing his forearm, hot bloom of blood. Elias triggered a spectrometer flash, blinding the fray and strobing white. They tumbled to the undercroft, Aloan wrenching the locket free. The orrery screamed gears, hologram exploding to a vortex of light threads, sucking air like a bellows. Shapes poured through, squid shrouds, tentacles lashing, but larger. Hybrids of cephalopod and phantom, eyes manifold, weaving chaos. Seal it, Ronan yelled, jamming frequencies on his rig, dissonant tones clashing the hum. Elias snatched the locket, slamming it home. Leora chanted an old keelhauler's rite, words from her mother's lips.
Threads bind, but blood unbinds. She slashed her palm on the shard, crimson dripping to the pedestal, the vortex inverted, threads recoiling, dragging Eloan's crew into froth. The captain twisted free, dagger raised, but Jem tripped her, the boy fierce as a tern. She plummeted the stairs, legs snapping on the trapdoor. "Mercy!" she gasped, venom curdling to plea. Elias bound her, the veil sealing with a sigh. Silence fell, broken only by waves. Dawn gilded the wreckage. Eloan's band zip-tied for the harbor master, the schooner beached like a gutted fish. Ronan hatched wounds, his skepticism humbled. Not science alone, symbiosis with the unknown. Leora hugged Jem, then Elias, brief, fierce. "You held the light." He smiled, tremor gone. "We did." Months wove on. Elias rebuilt, prisms recast, orrery tamed to predictor, not portal. Ronan published Resonant Capes, where myth meets megahertz, crediting the Harrow Collective. Leora mended nets anew, silver threads now allies in design. Jem grew, apprenticed to the light. One solstice, as beam and stars aligned just so, not seventh but eighth, a harmony. The cape sang back, dolphins in daylight, squid lights tracing safe paths for fleet. Elias stood with Leora on the widow's walk, her hand in his, Jem whittling below. "The veil is thin, but mended." He kissed her temple, salt and sage. "And we're the stitch." The lighthouse endured, finger of God no more, but hand extended to the deep, weaving not fates, but futures.